Hello. So I hope you can hear me. We will start in seconds. I mean, a quick comment, but it's a streamed event, so it's live. It's 10 a.m. here in Paris, and but because it's a stream, you can pause. You can go backward if you want to re-listen to an explanation or anything, but you cannot go forward. You cannot go into the future. So and also because of this stream, yeah, there is a slight delay. Maybe there is 1 minute between me talking and you listening. So it's important for the Q&A session at the end. So Q&A, you will have to write your question in the Q&A dialog box. There is somewhere there is a chat box when you can ask a question. Do it in advance. If you wait for the Q&A session, because of delay, maybe you will write your question and maybe I will not see it and stop the presentation before your question arrives. So I might not answer your question. So if you have a question, ask it as soon as you want. So let's start. So thank you to all the people who had joined. So there is already, I can see 15 people and it's going to grow. This presentation is about the last release of Coventor MP, that is 2.1 version that has been released in June. So already some time ago, but not too much. And this session is the Europe-Asia presentation. There will be an Europe-US presentation later today. And here we should have people from Europe, indeed, from Gulfstream, the Gulf, China, and Japan. I mean, anybody who wanted to join. Be aware that this webinar is recorded, but your name will not appear anywhere, except if you disclose it in the Q&A, for example. It's recorded, but should not be an issue for you. But if it's an issue, you can stop the. I mean, you can leave, but please stay. It will be interesting. So let's start this new feature announcement Coventor MP 2.1 presentation with an agenda. So the highlights of this presentation. First, we will start with a generic section where we will see the new features that allow easier way to create multi-physics model, so effortlessly. We talked about automated connection of mesh plate. We will also talk about other features that is allow to automatically generate hierarchy of components, so an easier way to add child components. Then we talked about construct 3D models, robustness, how to easily construct model in MES Plus with a feature that is about geometry healing during GDS model construction, because you can create model in MES Plus starting from GDS. Indeed, we talked about instantaneous and symmetrical mesh. So it's easier to create a symmetrical mesh in MES Plus and it's fast. Then there is a subsection about simulation, so simulator plugging, first with improvement of noise analysis simulation time. It's faster. And also one about reloading of results data. Then we'll have a section about new application cases, so examples of study you can do with the software. The first one is about choke simulation. You will see a nice example. Then there is some slides about the operation rectification error, how you can study them with the software. We will then talk about microphone THD, total harmonic distortion, and that is possible when you add parasitic capacitance to the model. And the last example would be how to completely script a finite element parametric design variation, how to completely script such study. Then there is a quick slide, quick session about the supported platform. So no big news this year about. Sorry, no, platform are the same basically. Sorry, and the very last section will be a Q&A, so question and answer. So if you have a question, I will be happy to answer. If you have a question, what you have to do is to write the question in the Q&A. There should be on your Teams environment. I don't know exactly how it looks like on your side. You should have a Q&A. You should be able to open a Q&A pane in which you can type a question. It's important that you ask the question as soon as possible, because if you wait at the end, again, it's a stream. There is a slight delay between you and me. It will not be easy, and maybe I will not even see your question, because for some reason, if you started the meeting like 1 minute late or whatever, there will be 1 minute delay, and that might be enough for me to stop the presentation. So please ask your question as soon as they are popping up in your head. So let's start with how to create multiphysics in MathPlus effortlessly. So something new. So it's the third version of the software where you can mesh a plate, an arbitrary geometry. It can be meshed in MathPlus. And we improved how you can attach additional model to such mesh plates with movable electrode. And connection of the movable electrode and the mesh plate will be automatic. Before it was possible, but it was a lot of manual work. So it will improve sensor and actual modeling, because you will be able to add many, the physics that are possible in MathPlus on top of mechanics, that is electrostatic, contact, and/or squeezing dumping. You can multi-select those models when you add here an out-of-plane electrode. And what's new is the wizard will auto-connect, do all the connection of the model together for you. So how it happen? You are in MathPlus. You have here a mechanical model of an accelerometer with the proof mass made of hexahedral mesh. It's a mesh plate. Maybe you created this device starting from HDS. It's something possible, and you want to add an electrode. So today, this electrode you will add. You will add a standalone rectangle, okay, to which you will fix. So here we see the mechanical connectors. You will fix all the mechanical connector of this standalone electrode. Big rectangle, because in this example we are creating a fixed electrode. It's not mandatory. You can create something flexible with this if needed. And to this rectangle, you will add add-on model that is an inherited movable gap that will allow you to add the additional physics you want to see between the mesh plate and the electrode. So it's a selection between electrostatic, contact, and/or squeezing dumping. You can have the three. You can have only contact if you want, only electrostatic, contact plus squeezing dumping. All choices are possible. All mix are possible. Then you apply the wizard, and the wizard will do the connection of the movable gap mechanical conductors that are sitting in the movable deposit, that is the deposit of the mesh plate, and it will finalize and do the mechanical connection between the two models. And after this action, so it's not a lot of manual action, because the wizard is automated, and you just have to create a rectangle and a movable gap basically. And such model is ready for simulation, and you see here, I will restart the animation. You see, for example, the DC sweep that is showing increasing of voltage and pull-in displacement. Pull-in contact displacement of the mesh plate towards the electrode up to contact. So here we are showing the effect of, I mean, indeed there is electrostatic and there is also contact because the plate is stopping at contact. You can see, thanks to the meshing, that there is flexibility, there is bending here in the right direction of the accelerometer. So the accelerometer is quite thin actually. Huh? Here it's the model of the accelerometer. For representation, you have exaggeration in Z, so it appears thicker, but it's just for illustration. So this is thanks to the wizard. Huh? The wizard is doing the automatically automate the connection of the gap models with the mesh plate, and it comes with new wizard properties that you will find in the document properties of Innovator plugin, the plugin where you assemble the device together. And by default, you will see a value of 0.001 to the property called ratio of movable gap surface to associate with each connector. So the way it works, the movable gaps is having connectors on the other side of the electrode that you are going, I mean, the wizard, is not you, are going to connect with the mesh plate. And for each of those connections, the wizard will create some imprinted face, small faces, that will be small rigidification, but will be where the mechanical connectors are connected. So basically, the default value of 001 is giving good results, and you can see a representation here. But indeed, if you want smaller rigid surface, you can make it make this value smaller, or you can make it bigger if it's needed. But basically, bigger might have a bad impact because it will create too much rigidification of the bottom surface, here the top surface, sorry, of the mesh plate, and a too small value will have a bad impact on the meshing because the mesh will adapt to these very small surfaces, edges, and you might have locally or everywhere too small mesh and too many nodes. So you can safely use the default value. That was for the first feature in Coventor MP 2.1. The next feature in Coventor MP 2.1 is called automatically generate hierarchy of components upon construction. So similarly, maybe to what we just presented, but in MES Plus, you will start by creating, I mean, not most of the time, you start with creating the mechanical model by assembling mechanical components. And here the example is a RF switch. So it's basically it's a beam that can bend if you actuate it with an actuation electrode underneath here. And the creation of the mechanical connector can be done with GDS, something that works well. And after, you will want to add add-on components, for example, electrodes to create the electrostatic part, electrode to create to add squeeze dumping model also, and contact all of them. So after importing the GDS, it used to be quite manual to add the components, or it could be scripted. Now we offer a way to make it automatic. So the electrostatic model and electrode will be directly automatically add to some components if you set up your component library properly. So here it's illustrated. So creating the switch I just showed on the slide before, you will start, for example, with this first beam, anchor beam. And here, for the illustration, we will say it's manually. You add this anchor beam manually, but you will be happy to do it with the GDS. And you want to add under this one an electrode to define a squeeze film dumping model between the anchor beam and the substrate. And now you can prepare your component library with under an anchor quad, this mechanical component, to have the inherited gap substrate, so properly defined with the gap models you want, with dumping, for example, the proper fixed deposit substrate. But what's new and what makes it nicer to use, you can set up to be automatically add to the 3D schematic. So if this box is checked here, you just have to add the anchor beam, the anchor quad, sorry, it's a quad, and the substrate electrode with the squeeze dumping will be automatically added. So it's some preparation on the Component library, but it makes the creation of the model in Innovator plugin, where you assemble the model, faster, easier. So then we will do the same with here the mini rectangle shells that quads that are used to create the actuation pad. Actuation pad will actuation quad, the name we gave. Components, mechanical components will automatically come with the electrode properly defined underneath. That will have a squeeze dumping model because there will be dissipation here if the two plates are moving toward each other, but also here electrostatic model because that's the actuation pad. If we continue, here we have stoppers, dimples that are here to stop the displacement of the actuation quad and forbid contact in shortcut. The same, the stopper quad that can be added manually or by the GDS will automatically come with the proper inherited gap that is having the proper deposit. Here there is three. There is the substrate, the electrode, and a dielectric that is used to make stopper. And the model this time is squeeze dumping, electrode, and contact. So with properly with proper work on the component library, you will make the number of clicks and the creation of the model in Innovator much easier. So again, or to summary, you can construct the entire model in a single click because you have a properly created component library, again, with at the right place, the automatically add checkbox with proper defined electrode, and creating the model will automatically both create the mechanical part of the model and the child electrodes with automatically add component. One wizard click, and you are ready for simulation. And here you are showing the many viewing modes you have in MES Plus. Here you see the mechanical viewing mode when you see the mechanical node. Here you see the electrostat electric viewing mode when you see the different electrodes. And here the squeeze dumping mode with the pressure pins. So, I mean, those two features I just talked about. So the easier connection of an entry cap to the mesh plate, and this automation of creation of child components to easily add physics to a mechanical model. They should help and make MES Plus model creation easier, multi-physics model creation easier. And we will go now to the next section. That is how to construct a 3D model more robustly with this first feature, that is geometry healing during GDS model construction. So again, a very nice feature in MES Plus we encourage you to use, that is construct 3D model that is basically allowed to create a MES Plus model starting from a GDS. You might use it to create a plate. So here we have a subpart of 3-axis gyro, a large gyro. The example is a 3-axis ST microelectronic gyro, and there is an error in the GDS. We created for the example, but I mean it might happen. And when you do the construct 3D from the GDS, the 3D model will reveal a slight imprecision. So here, it's not visible when you look at the GDS. I mean, if you were really zooming on GDS, you will see it, but at first you don't have to expect there is an issue. But basically, the two edge, the plate is divided in two, and the two edges, the two lines are not collinear. So there is a gap. And when you construct the model, instead of creating one mass in the components, it will create two mass. So it's very small imperfection on GDS that might not have any consequences on, I don't know, maybe tape out, but it's having one on model creation. Up to now, we have now a way to fix this. It's geometry healing. In the plate properties, there is a stitching tolerance with a default value indeed adapted to a customer experience. So default value is a tenth, not a tenth, a hundredth of micron, 0.01 micron. And if the gap here is less than 0.01 micron, and you can have a bigger value if you need to correct a bigger issue, the two masks will be stitched together, and you see the result here. GDS construction with these new properties is creating one mass as you were expecting. So the stitching basically corrected slight issues they were with the layout. Another feature for effortlessly model creation is instantaneous symmetrical mesh creation. So I'm going to explain, but it will improve sensor and actor accuracy for all design. It will ensure symmetry in the construction and will help to capture orthogonal spurious model with increased precision. And it will also reduce meshing time. So how did it happen? You create a model with a GTS or not, again. And yes, and there is symmetry here. So if you see if you look at the 3-axis gyro, so I will call this one the top. The top mass here is the symmetry by mirror of the bottom mass. The right mass and the left mass, there is also a symmetry. So what you can do, I mean, by default, if you were just meshing this device, the symmetry will not be recognized and not forced to the device. So what you can do now, it starts with single masses that you mesh, and using the construction action you have in MES Plus, like copy, paste, moved, mirror, or replicate, all those, you will preserve and keep the same meshing. So for example, you created a mesh for the right plate, and you do a mirror about the y-axis, the left mass is created, and the mesh is the same. It's a symmetrical mesh of the right one. So you ensure to have symmetrical results. And also, it's very fast because generation of a mesh on arbitrary geometry might take time if the geometry is complex. If it's, I mean, the less right angle you have, the more time it will take to generate the mesh. But here, with the mirror, you are not regenerating the mesh. You are basically reproducing the mesh. So it's instantaneous. So starting by creating only the mesh you need and using mirror will not only ensure you have symmetry on the mesh, it will also make the whole mesh device creation faster. So we did it with the right mass to the left mass. We can also do a mirror about the x-axis of the top mass to create the bottom mass, and symmetry is ensured. Okay, so this feature should help with model results and every other results to have more symmetrical results because you are enforcing the mesh to be symmetric. So this ends this section about model creation. Next section is about simulation. So in MES Plus, that is the simulator plugin where you can run simulation with a first announcement that is faster noise analysis. So in MES Plus simulator plugin, something quite specific to MES Plus, you can run a noise analysis. And the noise analysis will take the noise sources, so the dissipation you have in the model, and compute all the output spectral density of noise. You can look at any output and you will see the spectral density of noise. Here, for the illustration, we are using a microphone. It's a quarter of a microphone model. It's not a full circle, but 1/4 of it. It's the microphone from the tutorial. You can find with the software in the installation folder, in the example folder. And for microphone designer, it's interesting to study spectral density of noise, because you can integrate it and extract from this result. If you know also sensitivity of your microphone, you can do signal to noise ratio, for example. We are illustrating here with microphone, but noise can also be relevant for accelerometer designer and other designer for accelerometer. I mean, basically, those dissipation, it's the Brownian noise, and it can also help you to study the noise floor of an accelerometer or gyroscope in some context. So here, for this analysis directly coming from the microphone tutorial, we are running a noise analysis with 100 point from 10 Hz to 1 MHz. I think it's yeah, it's okay. It's 100 kHz, but anyway, it's 100 points. That's the important part. It used to take 54 seconds in previous release, and in this release, simulation will take 6 seconds. So it's a good improvement. It's 8 times faster. Those results, those timing, indeed, they are only making sense if you know, I mean, if you attach them to a computer. So I run them on my laptop, the laptop I'm actually using right now. It's quite a good laptop in terms of memory, for example, 64 gigabit, but it's not insane, not insane, sorry, but it's not a huge HPC, huge desktop. I mean, you can have much better computer those days, but you don't need an insane computer to run this analysis. So that's an improvement to simulation, much faster noise analysis in Coventry P2.1. Other change we bring to simulation and simulation results in particular, it's what happens when you reload simulation data. So simulator plugin, where you can see here actually the tree simulator plugin, when you can add simulation, run them, and open results. It used to be quite, I mean, when you reload a simulator plugin, the work you did was kind of not reusable as is. So I will explain, but for a reduced order model, for example, MROM, and here it's in the analysis tree, you can add under an ROM, you can add basic simulation like a DC analysis, a model analysis. It's a good way to obtain results or to check that your model, your reduced model, is having the good degrees of freedom, what you expect to see in it. But before, if you had just reload a saved analysis, you would have to recreate the model reduction. So the creation of the model reduction maybe took some time, and we were asking you to rerun it, to retake the time to create basically a file that is already existing. So now it's not needed anymore. If you reload a file, your model reduction will be something you can directly use and add DC analysis, or here we are illustrating within IC directly. No need to rerun the model reduction. And if your creation of a model reduction took a lot of time, you're not losing rerunning this time again. Something else quite similar, but for DC analysis, but basically for all analysis, GetInfo, that is something you can obtain with a right click and giving you information on the simulation. For example, on a DC, if you do GetInfo, you will see all the output values. Maybe in this DC there is you applied some input as a stress. It can be stress release, or it can be some voltage sources that act on the device and make it deform or move or anything. You can do a GetInfo and look at the states or look at the output and see how capacitance has changed or how the device has moved. Before, again, if we were talking of results you just reloaded from a saved file, the get-info would have been empty, and you would have to rerun the simulation. In the new release, you don't need. After a reload, the get-info is populated, and you can directly use it. So for the MROM, you can save a lot of time because MROM creation can be quite long. DC analysis, but it might be more complex analysis you have under. You can save some time, and also it's more coherent to directly have those results. So that's slide, and last ends the presentation of the new feature we wanted to talk about. We have a next section about new application cases. So example of what you can do with the software. Before moving to this section, I will again let you know that please write your question in the Q&A dialogue right now. If you wait for the Q&A session, I might not see your question. That might be frustrating. So we just presented, I just presented many new features. Maybe you have a question or details you want to know about those features, or anything about what was presented. So please, if you have a question, don't wait for the section. Okay, so first application case, it's Sigma Delta accelerometer choke simulation. So it's an example we maybe already presented during the product update, but at the time it was to explain a new feature that was a side movable cap. Now we are offering it as available files in the software. So basically, in the folder where MEMS+ is installed, sorry, where it's installed, you will find those files, and if you want to reuse them or use them to learn how to run the simulation, such a script in MATLAB, it's something you are free to do. I mean, we will be happy that you do it. So here, the use case, the test case is basically it's your smartphone, your or mine, I don't know. You drop it, it hits the floor, and with the accelerometer, because I mean, I'm sure you have one. You have many accelerometers in your smartphone actually. The accelerometer will survive the shock. So how to do it with the software? First, you have to create a MEMS+ model of this accelerometer. So it's here. You do it with MEMS+, so it's using the component library of a specialized MEMS component to create the comp drive, the suspension, the mass, everything. And it's quite small, not easy to see, and the stoppers. Here you have two stoppers, and you have two other here, that will limit the displacement of the mass in the y direction, that is the sensitive axis, basically. So, I mean, stoppers, something you will find in all, I think, accelerometer design, and they are here to limit displacement of the mass for choke, for example. You don't want the mass to go too far, maybe to do a shortcut at the comp drive, or maybe to break the suspension or whatever. So we have stoppers here. Such model created in MEMS+, it's easy and it's automated actually. You can easily transfer the model, the full finite element multiphysics, fully parameterized non-linear model, can send in MATLAB and run some specific analysis like time domain transient analysis in MATLAB. It's illustrated here. So the choke analysis, basically, it's a large input on one of the acceleration axes. Basically, here it's TAY, it's a sensitive axis, but it could be any axis or composition of many axes. Or it can be random. So this is the input on the acceleration, and the output here, we are looking at the displacement of the mass. So there is two results, one with a fixed contact stoppers So here the stoppers are fixed, it's quite abrupt, and one with flexible contacts that will kind of dissipate or make the contact less abrupt. So results are quite similar if you look at displacement. There is less bouncing with a flexible stopper, but not very different. What is interesting is you can go further and look at another result that will be the contact force. So here, the blue curve, that is the fixed stopper, and the red curve, that is the flexible stopper, you have to see that the results are on two different axes, and directly you see that there is at least, because there is a bit more actually, at least one order of magnitude difference. So there is 10 times less contact force with the flexible stopper. So here, its conclusion you can add less contact force. Maybe the device will not break. Maybe you want to add on top of this study some specific stress analysis within the device to see the stress contour, whatever. It will be possible. So here I'm missing an animation. Okay. Okay, so that's a new application case. You can find the results within the installation folders. Other new application we work on. Basically, it's application study we did in between released. The application engineer at Coventor, like me and the other application engineer, sorry. There is one example we think is interesting to share. It is vibration rectification error, VRE, in MEMS accelerometer. So it's not limited for MEMS accelerometer. VRE will make sense to gyroscope and I think to other sensor. I'm not that sure. VRE, it's an unwanted DC, so static, DC offset, generated by nonlinearities when you are in a context of vibration. So you want to measure, let's say we're talking about accelerometer, you want to measure an acceleration, maybe Earth's gravity, 1g, and you are in a context that is vibrating. So I don't know, you are sitting on an airplane. And vibration, due to nonlinearities of the device, will create a DC offset, a rectification that is kind of a parasite to what you want to measure. There is two methods, at least, to measure the vibration rectification error, and it's coming from the reference you can see here. First is sinusoidal vibration profile when you do your study at one frequency with a sinus. Basically, you might do it at many frequencies, but it's many times one study. In MEMS Plus, such can be efficiently studied with an advanced simulation that is called nonlinear AC, which is basically it's the counterpart of regular AC, that is a linear analysis. Nonlinear AC will give you the complex response to oscillation, taking into account the nonlinearities of the device. So a nonlinear AC, inputs and outputs are on many different harmonics. And you can characterize it by vibration rectification coefficient. It's basically the vibration rectification error divided by inputs. Another way to study random vibration that is more real world, or maybe more what you will do, something you will do experimentally. Both actually you will do experimentally. It's to apply a random vibration. So this time you are not at one frequency, but at many frequencies at the same time, not exactly the same time, but it's kind of a white noise on a range of frequency that you will define. It's characterized by the G root mean square. That's kind of the power of your input over a bandwidth, what I just said, similar to white noise. This, you can do the study in MEMS Plus with transient simulation in Simulink, for example. will be possible. Actually, Simulink is illustration, but should be also possible in Cadence or in MATLAB scripting. The next slide, we will explain in detail the first one, sinusoidal vibration profile with nonlinear IC, because maybe that's the more advanced way to study the phenomena. So we are in the frequency domain. We are in the frequency domain when you do that. So vibration rectification error in MEMS accelerometer, the sinusoidal vibration profile. We're using the nonlinear IC. So here we illustrated what is a nonlinear IC with, for example, what can be obtained with a nonlinear IC if you sweep a frequency around resonance, and you have here it's hardening basically. So it will be a mechanical nonlinearities. It's something. So it's not new, and it's not the application is new, but it's not new. Nonlinear IC, it's in the software since a long time, and allow to study nonlinearities due to vibration. So to study vibration rectification error, what you will do, it's running a nonlinear IC. So for accelerometer, you tend to do it on top of something you want to sense, so 1G. Here, if you want to sense Earth's gravity, on top of it, you will put an AC excitation, so at one frequency, as we said previously, with an amplitude in G, so G0. Additionally to it, you will want to study the scale factor with a regular DC analysis with 1G. So those results and the nonlinear IC results harmonic 0, what you have here, you will use them to first maybe obtain the vibration rectification error value. That will basically be your harmonic 0 nonlinear IC result minus the expecting result, that is a DC at 1G, what you would obtain if there were no rectification, no spurious spurious offset coming from vibration, and you divide by scale factor, so you will have a value in G. And I mean, more interesting, but vibration rectification coefficient is the vibration rectification error divided by the output power. So here, if you look at nonlinear AC results, basically obtained with the GetInfo, this is a screenshot of the GetInfo. You can look at the results from displacement. So proof mass displacement in Y. You have a results rectified here. You will have a VRC of roughly 1 nano-G per G square. If you look at the capacitance results, you will have a higher value, 0.72 micro-G per G square. It's because looking at capacitance, there is more nonlinearities into the device. So basically, displacement VRC, it's mainly or maybe only the spring nonlinearities. So the spring non being, if you looking at a plot that would be the spring force versus spring displacement, or could be displacement in Y versus force, reaction force. It's not a straight line because it's non-linear, so it's a straight line plus maybe another 2 coefficient, another 3 coefficient, and that will cause the VRC you obtain here if you look at the displacement result. When you look at capacitance, on top of this already existing displacement nonlinearities that is causing this VRC, you have electrostatic capacitance that is basically 1 over G, 1 over displacement, that is making the VRC even bigger. So that was for the rectification error studied with the sinusoidal vibration profile that you can do thanks to a nonlinear IC. Other application use case we want to talk about today, and you will find example within the software installation. It's total harmonic distortion for microphone. So total harmonic distortion is basically a way to monitor or to put a value on top of sound quality of a microphone. It's one way. There is other way, but it's an important way. THD, it's mainly due. I mean, it's an important component coming from the parasitic capacitance you might have on top of a microphone capacitance. Definition of THD, it's the ratio of the sum of the power of higher harmonics and the power of the fundamentals. So and it's done at one frequency, so it's defined, maybe it can change time to time, but it's defined to be a 1 kHz in microphone. So it can be studied in MES Plus also with a nonlinear AC running for some sound pressure input, exciting the nonlinear AC with one sinus at 1 kHz. So to do it, as I said, you need a model of the parasitic capacitance because it plays a key role in the THD. So it's possible in MES Plus. Here you are seeing again the tutorial microphone example. Next to it, there is a fixed plate capacitance made of two electrodes. We connected each electrode to the in parallel to the electrodes of the microphone, and thanks to parametrization, so the width or the length of this or both of this plate is controlled by a variable that will allow me to control the value of this parasitic capacitance. So this model can be used to run nonlinear AC, and doing the ratio of the different harmonic results of this nonlinear AC, I can study THD. THD can be and is expressed, I think, most of the time in percent. So THD in percent versus sound pressure level. So there will be each point will be one nonlinear AC results with different sound pressure and pressure input. And yeah, and sorry, and you can also do it for different parasitic capacitance value. And you will see how the THD is evolving depending on the sound pressure and parasitic capacitance. So here you might have recognized it's a MATLAB plot. So the study has been conducted thanks to MATLAB scripting, but basically THD, one-point THD simulation can easily be run in a simulator plugin. So that was not the last, but another application I wanted to talk. And now the last application I want to talk about. So last but not least, a use case that is showing how to completely run parametric design variation on finite element analysis, completely scripted. So yeah. So it takes advantage of a recent feature that is export to Coventorware. So when you have a MES Plus model that can be easily made parametric, as you might know or as you might already do, this model can be now sent automatically to Coventorware for finite element analysis. And it's not only the material properties, the geometry or the mesh settings, but it's also the geometric entity names that will allow you to apply boundary condition. For example, if you want to fix a patch, and the model in MES Plus, sent to Coventorware is matched, so ready for simulation. And so this can be scripted, and also we will show that the simulation can be scripted in Coventorware also. So here an example, still using the same accelerometer. In MES Plus, you start with the GDS, you use the Construct 3D model or extrusion of GDS to create this model. And you will select some parameters. So here, for example, there is this beam of the suspension. We decide you have the nominal value of the width of the suspension, that is 12 micron. But on top of it, we offer to add the critical dimension, so a value that might be more, The width might be more or less 12 micron, depending on, for example, process imperfection. At this stage, you can easily run compact model simulation, so regular MEMS plus simulation in MATLAB scripting, for example. And here, still looking at shock analysis, but that's not enforcing contact, but cooled. We can have different results changing the CD value. But here we want to script and do finite element simulation, so we continue. If you define the global mesh settings, and you can do local refinement also in MEMS Plus, you will be able to send to create automatically the meshed model in CoventorWare for simulation. Mechanical connectors that were fixed in MEMS Plus are now patch names, so you will be able to say I want to fix this patch, for example. Electrical connectors, they become conductors in CoventorWare, so it will be easy to apply electrostatic force or monitor capacitance. So it's an export you are doing, and you have a model ready to simulate in the CoventorWare project database. Then you simulate this model. So for example, here we combine the MEMS Plus results to take the maximum displacement, to apply this maximum displacement in CoventorWare to this accurate model that will allow point simulation of stress, for example, what has been done here. So it's the contour plot here is stress to, for example, check that the maximum displacement is not causing stress that might break the results. And it's scripted, so indeed we are doing it for many different values of the CD. You can see here 0, 0.5, 1 micron. So some process variation on the width of the suspension. And all this is scripted, so extracting the result can also be scripted, and processing the result can be also part of the script. So it's an entire flow that is scriptable and can be done in the MATLAB interface. So here for illustration and just to summarize, all those steps, they can be done in MATLAB script. So creation of the MEMS Plus model, parameterization, compact simulation indeed, but also processing the model to finite element, to export it to CoventorWare. Launch CoventorWare, I mean, you don't need, and you can do it in a headless mode. Run the batch model simulation and extract the results. So that was the last application I wanted to talk to, and we are near the end. So again, if you want to ask a question, do it right now. And let me drink a bit of water. Okay, so supported platform. Basically, there is nothing new. Already the platform we were supporting for the last release. The supported MATLAB version might have slightly changed. Yes, indeed, because there is a newer version of MATLAB. On Windows, you can use the software on Windows 10. You can use MATLAB and Simulink on Windows 10, so the version of MATLAB Simulink are here. So pay attention. You can use the 2021B MATLAB release, but the latest 2122 is not supported today. Might be in next release. On Linux, you can use Red Hat 6, Red Hat 7. And Cadence is only running on Red Hat, so it's why you have it only for the Red Hat. And MATLAB Simulink on Red Hat is only supported on Red Hat 7. But as I said, it was already the case for the last release. So yeah, that was the last slide I had to talk. And now this is your session, the Q&A session. So there is a good number of questions. Give me some time to organize myself. So here, not sure. I mean, you don't have any choice, but you will have me to make it a bit more lively. And okay, the first question is I mean, it's very easy. Is it possible to receive a record? So this session, as I said, is recorded. We will make a record available. I mean, might be it will certainly be on the portal, so the customer portal of Coventor.com. So on Coventor.com, you can ask for credential, login, and you might see the record. We might also send to the list we use to invite people to this webinar to send the link to the record to say that if you miss the webinar, you will be able to see it. So that's that might be possible. So okay, so yeah, that was the first question. I have a question about structural optimization in MEMS Plus. Is it possible, and how? So actually, yes. So okay, I mean, I will have to interpret what you mean by structural optimization, but optimize your device. So let's say it's an accelerometer. We use an accelerometer as an example all over this presentation. You might want to try different solutions for the suspension shape, for example. If it's a serpentine, how many turn to the serpentine? Maybe you want to try different thickness of the serpentine. Maybe you want to work on the shape of the mass. You want to vary the number of comb drive fingers, of the position comb drive finger. It's something quite easy. So when it's a large change of the structure, so as I said, changing the suspension shape, a good way to do it, for example, would be to have the suspension within a subschematic, and you change the subschematic for another one. And if you have 4 suspension on the 4 corner, you will use 4 times the same subschematic, and it should be easy to do. When it's a small kind of local change, like a thickness, let's use a parameter, a variable you define in MEMS Plus, and you attach to a thickness, for example. So structural optimization in MEMS Plus is possible. That was to answer one of the questions. Let me go to the list of questions. How long does it take time to build this model from GDS? Thank you. So, thank you for your question. It's me. So I'm not sure this model, which model. So there were, so maybe I will move. There was this accelerometer. So sorry, I think we have yeah, this accelerometer. If you start from the GDS is here. You can construct it in quite easily. Sorry, quite easily. This one, if I click construct 3D model, really it will take seconds because it's not too complicated. Suspension are made of 4 beams. There is 4 suspension. It's not too many components. What will take some time is before doing this action, that will take seconds, I have to prepare my process editor. So in process editor, I have to, in the layer table, I have to link this GDS, so I'm not sure the color, but I will say this one is a stator for a comb drive. I will say this GDS is a proof mass. I mean, it's an easy, it's not complicated, but something to do because by default, the software doesn't know. So you attach component to a GDS, and when you do this right click, it's really taking seconds, quite fast. Another example, so let me scroll. Yes, this. So this 3-axis gyro, it's maybe a little bit more complex. Beams are made of tens of beams, sorry, suspensions are made of 10 of beams, even more sometimes. There is many individual comb drives, you define everywhere. This one, I will say, will take 10 seconds or tens of seconds. So I mean it's acceptable. Then you will have the wizard. I will also take some time to finish the connection. But the preparation time, preparing the component library to make it work, to associate some GDS color. So maybe we have the GDS here. It's not color, it's a GDS name, GDS number to a specific component. It's some work you have, preparation work you have to do in the component library. It will be the same. Will not be longer to do because the model it's more complex. It's just the creation, automatic creation, that will be a little bit more longer, but basically it's the same work you will do in the component library. You will say this GDS number will be the plate, this GDS number will be comp drive, GDS number will be suspension. So thank you, Anonymous. Now you are basically everybody is anonymous. So Anonymous, I hope I answer your question. It's quite fast to build a model with a GDS. So it's already 11 o'clock, but I mean I might still answer a couple of questions. We have a question about Piezo MEMS technology. So, do we support Piezo MEMS technology? The answer is yes. And in the examples file, you will find some MEMS ready-to-use files. And but indeed, you can always modify and enhance the file. So enhance what you have. So a long question. Okay. Okay, so question, I think I can give the name. So not anonymous, but Jérôme Julliard is asking me. So hello, Jérôme first. Is asking me if the ST gyro, so the one we are seeing here, is available in the example, MEMS Plus or Coventorware. So that's the first question. The answer is no. So it's because it's I mean, ST Microelectric is ST is owning this device. And also it's a device we recreated from reverse engineering work you can find on the web. So we did it with public material, but it's not something we think would be fair to share with other people. So this one, I mean, except if we were having ST approval, but this one is not an example we share. So the new examples are the one I talked about during the. Sorry, there is another question that is, could you let us know what are the new examples? So they are the one. Sorry, they are the one I talked about. So there is a new THD example. There is this track analysis example. So there are the new example you will find in addition to all the other examples that was already in the software. And are there other Foundry process files available in 7.0? No, in 7.0 we did not add more Foundry files, so you will find basically the MEMS Foundry files that were already available. So I hope I answer this well. So let me take maybe 2 more questions, or maybe not. There is not so many. Oh, there is a question about how can we provide air and squeezed film damping where many pairs of combs are there. So it's something that has been added in the past. We call it comb damping. So when you add a comb drive, a stator actually on a child to a comb drive in a rotor comb drive in MEMS Plus, you have the possibility to select in the properties of this stator squeeze film damping, and it will add squeeze film damping model that is between every pair of combs, a pair of fingers actually, or pair of combs, and it's a smart model that taking advantage of periodic symmetry. because basically a comb drive, it's a repetition of many fingers with the same shape. So you can take advantage of symmetry, still allowing all the displacement in any direction of the combs and take them properly into account. But you can make small models. I mean, not increase the size of the fluidic nodes too big. And I mean, that's something in the software that I think I'm pretty sure you can find more explanation in the documentation, or contact an application engineer if you want to know more. Can you? Yeah, sorry. So I read this question, but can you please repeat the last application discussed? Actually, I won't. It's already 11, and I wanted to talk for 1 hour. It's already 1 hour and 5 minutes. But don't be frustrated. I mean, please contact support, contact an application engineer, or maybe when you will have the record of this, if you want to re-listen to this part, it should be already possible. Actually, it's not sure, but on your side, I think it's a stream, and you can go backward with if you want, like it was a video. So, okay, sorry. So it's, okay, sorry. I will explain, but there is a question that is, where are you from? I mean, it's a legit question. So, so myself, right now, I'm from Paris area. So Arnaud Parent, application engineer, product manager of Commentor MP. We have a strong home office policy because of COVID, even if it's getting better. In France, it's getting better, but I mean, it's why I'm sitting. I'm not sitting in the office, but in my place. And so I hope I answered your question, where I'm from. Maybe if you want to know more about that, Coventor is a US company, originally based in Boston. Acquired by Lam Research, that is Silicon Valley company, large company. But the MEMS development, MEMS business is very centered in Paris. So many of the developers, all the developers basically, that are building this software, they are from the Paris office. They are working in the Paris office. And people like me, application engineers, so some of them are in Paris. And indeed, we have an application engineer local, so in the US, in Japan, and more. So thank you. I mean, it's a good question to finish. That was a light question. Thank you to ask me where I'm from. I guess it's to be interested. I see Jérôme will say merci. So merci Jérôme. Thank you. And I will finish here. So let me have a slide to finish. Not that is important, but let's use all the slides. So thank you very much. Thank you for attention. I hope you learn a lot. Might not make sense for you because you already attend this presentation, but there will be another presentation later today for US and Europe. And please enjoy the rest of your day. Talk to you later.